on staff for details. Following this discussion, commissioners may choose to ask questions of parties present. Interested persons may speak to support or protest the application. The applicant will be entitled to one brief rebuttal. Interaction between the applicant and protestants on the floor is not permitted. Persons speaking are asked to approach the center podium one at a time to introduce themselves by name and address and sign in, please, and to present their position as succinctly as possible. The Commission asks each speaker to limit his or her remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Following the public hearing on an application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. 2, continue the proposal. 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. Or deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the applicant may reapply at any time. When an application has been approved and after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the CA to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA has been issued. Contact HP staff for final design review inspection or to withdraw items that will not be completed. And finally, any person aggrieved by any decision granting or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the BOA. Okay, that's our meeting process. On to 2 from the Office of the Historic Preservation Officer. Katie?
The only thing that we've been reporting is that we are hosting a wood window workshop coming up this September 15th and 16th. It is actually already sold out. People can contact us to be put on a wait list, and of course we will look at the number of people who express interest and evaluate doing another one soon.
Okay, thank you. On to the minutes, acceptance of the minutes of the previous meeting. Anybody have any corrections or comments or motion for approval?
I have one correction. Under member present, item 1A, Commissioner Ryman Phillips' last name is misspelled.
Eagle eye.
And with that change, I move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved by Neela Crank Clements, a second by Klaus Ryman Phillips. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes have been accepted. On to 4, code enforcement report. Anybody from the city here answering questions? Any questions on the comments, Katie?
Just as always, if you have questions about a specific case, you can contact staff and we can help find out more information. If you see a number listed where it says citation number, then that tells you that it has already proceeded from a notice of violation to an actual citation, and we can give you information on that as well.
I have a question about a demolition possibility on a home on 17th Street, the 600 block. Do you know anything about that? There was something in the paper about that in Mesta Park.
What's the address?
I think 605 17th Mesta. If we could check on that.
Katie will check on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so no action there. On to 5, continuous announcements and requests. None. 6, public hearings. None. Moving right along. And finally, D, cases for individual consideration. Katie?
HPCA 18-00125 at 800 Northwest 38th Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application of Lance Brothers for certificate of appropriateness to 1, apply lime wash to brick, elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay, if you would step up and sign in. Okay, anybody have any questions on this? A little unusual. I don't remember ever having to deal with lime wash. Understand the house was previously painted.
That's what I understand from a report which I just received Saturday. So if I don't have a proper PowerPoint presentation, forgive me for that.
Thank God. Oh,
Yes,
excuse me.
I agree. So what I'll do is address the specific findings of the report, and the first three are all concerning painting. I do not propose to paint the house. Evidently, it has been painted in the past, and it appears that perhaps the paint was removed by sandblasting because there are some bits of mortar which are gone. The mortar is very competent. You can't scratch it away. My wife and I lived in a house built in 1900 or 1910 in Chickasha, and some of the mortar in the basement, you could physically scratch that away. So this is not that. It's very, very stable. A lime wash. Lime is calcium hydroxide. I hope all you're familiar with this. I'm not beating a dead horse, but it has extremely low solubility in water, less than 0.2% by weight of water. So you don't make a solution of lime, you make a paste. You smear it on, and as you can see from some of these photos, the brick is very competent, so it will really need what you consider like stabilization. Some of the mortar may need to be replaced. But getting back to the lime, I don't want to turn the house white. I want primarily the red brick to show through, and in some of the photos and reports you can see how in the past some of the bricks have been replaced and it's very mismatched, especially on the Chartel side of the street. So I feel putting a lime smear, 25%, no more than 50% of the brick covered would make up for the appearance. There's advantages to lime. It's a high pH material, pH 12. If you smear that on, it is antifungal, antibacterial, so you don't get into the situation where with a latex paint, which latex is an emulsion of an acrylic polymer, polyvinyl acetate, styrene butadiene rubber, these types of polymers, it's carried in water. The water evaporates, the polymer coalesces, you have the water impermeable film placed on the brick. That's when you get into situations, instances where water can't escape the brick, you can get expansion, contraction, freeze, thaw, and the brick can actually spall. The lime is very permeable. There was a quote from an online article. I'm sorry, it's not a peer-reviewed article. It's meant concrete research or anything, so I could come across. With lime wash, breathability is often chosen to redecorate the brick walls of old and even historical buildings. So that's what we're dealing with here, is the vapor is able to penetrate the brick, which is very permeable, and then also escape. Lime, being calcium hydroxide, will also react with the brick somewhat. Brick is from clay and sand. Clay is an aluminum silicate. Calcium hydroxide can react with that to form calcium silicates, but it's a very low reaction below about 140 degrees. So it'll take place slowly over a period of months and years. It can chemically react with the brick. Another on the specific findings is how would lime wash be removed? You don't want to use a strong mineral acid like hydrochloric, which is muriatic, or nitric acid, sulfuric acid, strong mineral acids. Primarily removal would be through commercial materials by trade name. One is CLR. It's a mixture of gluconic acid and lactic acid, which are very benign. Gluconic acid is simply the acid form of glucose, lactic acid, the acid form of lactose. So these are very environmentally friendly materials if you have to remove the lime wash from the house. So that would be, in a nutshell, what I'm proposing. And also in the last page of what I submitted to the city, there was an example of a house 2 blocks down, which is what I'm targeting, what I want the house to look like.
Is that house, did it receive a lime wash, or just do you like the appearance?
I actually asked the people who lived there, I said, who did your house? They said, it was like this when we moved in, we thought it was just a botched job. I said, no, it's I called a German wash or a lime smear, so I was looking to see who did that. But from all appearances, and if you look, do research on lime wash, you can put the lime on and smear off what you want while it's still wet to get a partial coverage, or you could just whitewash the entire house and make it totally white. But I'm after the look on 2 blocks down in the proposal.
Did you find somebody to do it?
I am in the process. There was a Lincoln Construction, and I'm not totally confident on their track record. One of the the contractor said, we've never done this before. Another said, oh, yeah, we've done it. And, yeah, so we proposed doing a small portion of your house in the back and see what it looks like. So I wanted to get your input, thumbs up, thumbs down, before I researched further to get multiple contractors and bids on this.
I like it, especially it was painted before, but we've never had it come up before to us. I almost want to personally continue it, have you do a section somewhere so see what it's going to turn out like,
So it would look like this last page?
Yes.
hopefully.
How did you get, is that another house?
That's another house which I want my house to look like.
Like this?
And that's what I told Lincoln Construction and took them down there. I said, this is what I'm after. Because there are other houses, 2 or 3 up from there, where it's almost totally smeared and you can hardly see the brick at all. And if this brick wasn't mismatched, I wouldn't want to spend the thousands of dollars. I love the red brick. But if you look at it from Chartel, there's obvious inconsistencies in the appearance of the brick.
I see all the parts of the photos you had circled in those sections. It looks damaged, like you said, like that right
it's
there.
that circle there, and it appears there used to maybe a window or something that's been bricked over.
Yeah.
There's an addition to the house, so on the southwest corner, the southeast corner of the house, there on the right-hand side, that's the only part that really looks like it's damaged, but it just looks like they didn't do a proper brick job because all the surrounding bricks in fine condition. So that needs to get some ASTM C270 type N or type S mortar to be pushed into the voids where it's missing mortar here and there.
You may want to have, since all this, keep it consistent, you have to cut out the mortar and then put the new mortar in.
If that's what the mason suggests, said that the mortar itself is very competent. You can't scratch it out. So perhaps instead of digging it out and replacing it, you could just push mortar into the voids that are there. They're all very small, which
Yeah.
do exist.
Good match.
What is the mortar? You know what it is right now? Is it a limestone or?
The mortar?
Yeah, can it be scraped out with your fingernail?
No, you can't. It's some combination of Portland cement and sand.
Because don't we have some guidelines about the color for mortar? Because there was a problem in Heritage Hills about somebody that did this before, and it was too contemporary looking. I mean, there's some way to tint that, right?
Yeah, the mortar mix is supposed to match the historic mortar both in color and in
So like a sidewalk.
texture, the
Talk about the
hardness.
sidewalks. I'm
Yeah.
trying to.
Same.
But, yeah, I've seen okay, your sidewalk, your driveway doesn't look like it used to be. You need to add a dye or a tint to the mortar. But in this instance, the mortar would be added to, not necessarily replaced, would be very small, and the lime wash would account for that and even everything out. So it wouldn't stand out as looking different.
Problem is sometimes with matching the historic mortar is like, for instance, a lot of houses in the neighborhood have charcoal gray, dark gray mortar, but over time it lightens. So if you're going to match with the historic, which one is it?
Yeah.
If you do charcoal gray, then it's going to look like you didn't. You have to almost repoint the whole house.
Yeah, I think the guidance usually is that if you're just spot repointing, you match what's there now
Yeah,
so that it
for
blends.
appearance.
If you're, in color. And if you were truly repointing all or most of the structure, you would try to go back to
Yep.
the original.
That would make sense. Anyhow, that's a little side there. I heard you're a chemist. Shows.
Calcium silicates, polyvinyl acetate, what tipped me off. Yes, my degree is in chemistry. I worked 31 years as a research chemist for Halliburton in their cement section when it was in Duncan, Oklahoma. So I have some background with lime and cements, things like that.
That was interesting. Any questions about this?
You were talking about the methods for removal of the lime wash, and if that was ever wanted, and I think I picked up that the methods you are describing would not hurt the brick.
No, because bricks are really, I don't want to say impervious, but very resistant to acids. That's why if you get old brick, which has mortar all over it, you acid wash to clean that off. And that's even with a dilute solution of hydrochloric acid. Other materials, like I mentioned, the CLR is one, they have organic acids, which are not nearly as abrasive or chemically reactive as the mineral acids are.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to go back to the style of the house, which on page 4 of 10, there's a description, and it's showing it when it was painted. And it was certainly common for this particular style of property, our particular architectural style, to be painted originally. So it was probably built and painted. So maybe when they took it off, they didn't think that they would run into the boo-boos that were underneath there, you know, and so you start taking it off, and they thought, well, we've taken it off, we want to do it red brick, but it's my opinion that it probably did have, it was intended to have some sort of paint due to the style. It's a Spanish style, so they were looking to have it look more like stucco.
That's a good point.
Versus than brick. It would be unusual to have a Monterey-style house that was brick. I'm not saying there's not some, but more common to have it be painted white. So I would go with Alan's suggestion of perhaps preparing a sample, if you would be interested in that, and coming back to the commission with the sample.
Because I'm going to have that done before I turn them loose on the entire house anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in doing that?
Whatever it takes.
Continuing?
I mean, I would make a motion to continue with the applicant to prepare a sample and come back.
To November meeting, probably?
So it's either October 3rd or November 7th.
Let's go for November.
Okay.
It's kind of football season now. We get so busy on the weekend.
All right.
What is the maintenance factor of this procedure, I mean, in the future? Does it just last forever, or what?
Well, what I've seen is you may have to go back in and touch up or redo over 5 to 7 years. But to me, that would be if you smear the entire house where it's totally covered with a lime instead of a spot application. But that's, I guess, remains to be seen.
To me, what you're proposing is highly preferable to how it looks now. I can see.
Yeah, I'm just trying to improve the looks of the property.
I do think that there are some painters in town that have done this before, because I've had customers have people do interior work where they call it a German schmear or something like that.
German
So I do,
schmear.
yeah, that's what they call. I mean, so what people have told me that they call it.
Right, German smear.
Yeah.
That's that technique.
And so, anyway, so you may be able to find, more than one person to talk to about
Right.
actually.
Yeah, and I want to get competitive bids on it. The first one seemed rather high because materials costs would only be $200 or $300 at the most, because lime is a very inexpensive material. And you're just slurrying it up with water. There are no other additives to go in there. And for this to be a partial coverage, it's not totally whitewashing the house with it.
So are you talking to painters about doing it?
That would be my best guess.
That's what you said,
Painters, right. I mean,
painting.
to me, you need like a painter that, likes to do this kind of work. I think there's people out there right now that do it. So.
Right, painters, plasterers, it's a matter of finding that guy that's out there.
Okay, well, good luck.
I'll second Mary Jo's motion to continue.
Did you make a motion? Okay. Okay, it's moved by Jim Meacham and seconded by Neela Crank-Clements. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, continued till November. We'll see.
See you in November.
Can't wait to see how it turns out.
Thanks.
HPCA
Next.
18-00126 at 920 Northwest 17th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Michael Casey for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage elective, and 2, construct garage elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay, if you would come to the podium, please. Okay. Please also sign in. Thank you. Any questions on this one?
One of the requirements for demolition is that the structure poses imminent threat to safety, and we have a letter from an engineer stating as such.
Okay, staff's recommending approval of both items.
I mean, I make a motion to approve item, can you have it?
One?
Okay, well, and the other one is 2. Okay. I make a motion to approve item 1 of HPCA 1800126
Okay.
with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, and second by Neela Clements. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. First one's approved. Now for the garage, there's a new garage.
So it's 17 square feet larger than recommended by our guidelines, but I think because it does sit, it is an interior lot, minimally visible from the right-of-way, I think that 17 square feet is not an issue in this case. Proposed design is secondary to the primary dwelling, and it is a modest structure. I think the materials look to be in line with our guidelines as well. So unless anyone has any other comment, I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00126, item 2, to construct a garage with unique circumstances and specific findings as listed in the staff report.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Neela Clements, second by Joe Meacham. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you've been approved.
Thank you.
All right, next.
HPCA 18-00129 at 2129 Northwest 27th Street, Shepherd, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Holly Qualls for a certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace non-historic windows on previously enclosed porch elective.
Well, is the applicant present? Okay, if you would come to the podium, please. Sign in. All right. This is just for the windows.
I know we're just looking at the windows, but have you considered reopening that porch?
I would love to, but we're just not prepared for the amount of work that would entail.
Okay. It's pretty simple.
What is the current cladding?
Vinyl.
The vinyl, okay.
Yeah, it was done sometime in the 70s, we understand.
And one thing that kind of came to mind on this item was if you do replace the windows, I'm assuming that you'd have to work with the trim a little bit. And in that case, if you weren't ready to reopen that whole porch, I still wonder if you're going to do that amount of work, if it makes sense to replace that with a approved material. I don't know how the other commissioners feel.
The cladding?
The cladding.
The window installer has assured us that he isn't going to touch it, because that's a fear of mine, is that if they touch it, it's going to all require, they'll have to be replaced with wood siding at that point. But they have assured me that they won't have to touch the vinyl.
So the proposed windows will fit within the existing openings?
Yes, ma'am.
They're exactly the same size?
Custom. Is the,
Okay.
what is the appearance of the windows? Are they divided light? I don't see anything in here that
The
describes.
proposed windows are just picture windows. There's just picture windows. They're just
Okay.
plain glass.
1/1, so no.
No panes, no lines, no openings.
Not even
So
one
not
over
even a
one,
one
not a
over
double
one.
hung,
Oh, it's
just a
just-
picture window.
Just
Just-
picture
okay,
window,
not
just
even double
plain
hung.
glass.
Okay, so no division at all.
So, but this was originally an open.
It was originally a porch, and I would love to have it, but it extends, if you can see the full picture of the house, it extends up into the roof line. It's not just a simple enclosure.
Right.
They've
Yeah.
created a whole gable of the roof line that would have to be torn off and pretty expensive.
Is this not, don't we have a rule that if you're replacing over half of an area that is non-historic, that you have to go back?
Well, if you are replacing more than half of a material, then you are required to get a CA for that. Less than 50% is considered ordinary maintenance and repair. If you are replacing more than 2/3 of a material, then you have to go back with the historic material, and you can't go back in kind. So, because their intention is not to replace any of the siding, I didn't think that we had any grounds to say, well, you've got to reopen the entire closed porch.
So if they went over 2/3, that might be an issue.
Yeah, if they were replacing the siding as
The
part
siding,
of the
yeah.
project, then it would be a
Replacing
different
siding,
matter.
wanted to do over 2/3, they would have to take it all. There'd be no
So
replacement.
it's over 2/3 of any given material?
Yes, the example that it gives in the guidelines is siding. It's if you had vinyl siding on a house and you were taking off 2/3 of the vinyl siding, then you would have to go back to wood.
Can I give you some
Kinda
additional
hypothetical at this
information?
point.
We're not just doing this because we want to do this. I'd much rather, redo my floors. I've had I've had a water leak in that roof line right where that new enclosure is. We've had it repaired, but there's some water damage on the inside of the walls on the inside. So I need to rip all of that out. And since I'm ripping all of that out, I thought, well, the windows are not functioning. The windows won't close all the way. And we've tried to repair them, and they're just old and ugly, and they just need to be replaced. So we thought this would be the ideal time to open up the walls, put some nice windows in, and then replace the walls on the inside.
Okay.
With the siding versus wood, what would we suggest, or what would you guys suggest, what window should go in that?
Well, I don't think that you could,
Versus
I don't think
aluminum.
you could go back. I mean, to me, it's a difficult situation being on the front of the house in that if you were asking to put wood, take the siding off and put wood, that would be difficult too.
Yeah.
Because that's not original.
Well, if you leave the vinyl siding, are you saying what kind of window would be appropriate?
Well,
That's what I'm asking.
right, I have a little concern over just a picture window.
It's a non-historic window, so
Right, but we still require, compatibility with the size and the pattern of the windows and picture windows. I mean, I usually, even if it was on the back of the house, I think we would be saying, you get to use different materials, but we wouldn't, generally speaking, I don't think we'd be saying okay to a picture window.
Well, we did talk about this, and we talked about several different options. We've seen at least one or two other cases in the time that I've been here of a previously enclosed porch where they wanted to replace non-historic windows and had the discussion of, is it appropriate to put what looks like a historic window in what's clearly not a historic window opening? Or is it more appropriate to leave it as open as possible so that, I mean, in this case, because of the way this was enclosed, I'm kind of the opinion that nothing you do is going to quite look right. If you put a pair of wood double-hung windows
No, and I
in
wasn't
there,
going there, just
Yeah.
the pattern of, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess on the other hand, you could go with the picture window maybe presents the porch with a more
openness.
openness, more original appearance, so just, that one's a tough one, but
our intention is to make it look more like a sunroom instead of like a room.
I'm saying, that's kind of a justification for not having the double hung there, is at least
It was the best solution we could come up with.
Right.
Yeah.
There's two side by side. What if, I'm just talking
And that-
loud, if it was just
so-
one window instead of
So just
two?
the one picture window's good?
I'm just saying, I was wondering, if there's two windows side by side, double hung now, going back with,
Right.
I guess, two picture windows?
No, just
One
and one.
two on the other side, but one on the south side
It would be
and one on the east side.
replacing both of the double hung.
Oh, that's what
with
you're
one
doing, what I
picture.
just said, okay. I didn't realize.
So if you did that, then
There's
you
no
have more of a
drawing.
porch appearance. I don't know, it's a tough one, but
Yeah.
I would go with that.
That kind of seems my take, the windows don't close properly right now, so something needs to happen because you don't want to have moisture issues. And since it isn't, none of it's historic, I kind of agree. I think if you do picture windows, it won't look like you're trying to match some kind of historic condition. And ultimately, I'm not sure when, but at some point you'll have to replace the vinyl anyway. Then, presumably you'd come back and
Take the whole thing off then.
we'd have that same discussion. So I think I'd make a motion.
I'm kind of arguing another direction now. Pella aluminum-clad windows in a vinyl, sliding wall that you're going to probably take out someday. I don't know. It might be a lower-cost alternative if you're going to get rid of them someday. I'm just talking loud. That's perfect. I think we're going to approve it, but I might have looked for something less costly.
You're saying allowing, in this specific case, vinyl
Maybe.
versus...
Yeah. I don't know if we'd prove that or not, because it's not a simple answer.
Holly, is your intention you want to be able to open these windows, right?
No, the picture windows won't be opening. We've lived without being able to open them for quite some time, and it's kind of like a sunroom. Visitors enjoy that room. I hate it personally. I'd love to tear that off. I'd like to have a proper sitting porch. But no, I don't care if the windows don't ever open.
So would it be better as one big pane of glass?
That's
rather than
what
the
she's
double?
that's
Is that
what she's-
what we're asking?
Yeah, I was confused, too.
Yeah. I think that would look better to get the openness. It's me.
That's
not
the
gonna open.
proposal.
Yes,
All right, Klaus, you were going to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00129, item 1. With the specific findings and conditions as listed in the report.
Is there a second?
Are there unique circumstances on that one?
Oh,
Yep.
Sure there are.
Okay. Okay. You want to include those also?
Yeah, and include the unique circumstances as listed in the staff report.
Okay. Second?
Been moved by Klaus Ryman Phillips and seconded by Neela Crane Clements. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're approved.
Thank you.
Y'all have long names. Lots of hyphens. Next. Oh, okay.
HPCA 18-00132 at 2115 North Chartel, Mested Park, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application of Edgardo Cecil by Catherine Montgomery, AIA of Preservation and Design Studio for certificate of appropriateness to, 1, install railing at first floor porch, elective.
Okay, the applicant is present.
I am Edgardo Schill, I'm the owner.
Okay.
I'm ready to answer any question.
Any questions for, how do you pronounce your last name?
Eh? I have no question.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Say again?
Sayed?
Can you say your last name for us again?
Shield, Edgardo Shield, SZYLD.
Shield, okay. Mr. Shield?
Yes.
Okay, any questions?
Is any material that currently exists on this front porch original, or has everything been replaced?
You're speaking about the porch?
Yeah.
Yes. So I bought the house 2 years ago.
Okay, so you know what's happened in the past 2 years. Do you want to?
Ken Honchman, Preservation and Design Studio, 616 Northwest 21st Street. The house was repaired or refurbished within the past 5 years. The Zelds have only owned it for 2. So I believe most of, it's hard to say. Columns, do you think were placed? Oh, I know the siding was, but like the steps going up to the porch is original. Yeah.
It looks like from past CAs, the steps at the porch were new. We don't have anything else saying if were the columns added without a CA?
Replaced.
Katie or Angela? Or replaced without a CA?
Don't know.
It looks like the
Steps, to the
decking
best
is
of my knowledge, are something that have been there for quite some time. The previous property owner worked on this particular property for perhaps 3 years without acquiring the necessary permits or certificates of appropriateness. At some point, the inspectors did get involved in this particular project, and I worked with both the brother and the sister towards getting as many of the certificates of appropriateness as possible. The windows, the doors, the siding, pouring of the driveway, that sort of thing, the new fence there on the side, all of those items were eventually approved for certificates of appropriateness. It is my understanding that the Trex on the front porch and the new front porch columns, well, and the porch columns on the first floor are new materials as well. Whether or not they went through the same property owner, I have no clue on. All I have is a visual inspection.
So, but the thing we're reviewing is the rail only, which matches the existing.
I think it greatly enhances the look of the house, without a doubt, and the safety factor. Seems like some insurance, you need a rail on the first floor.
It kind of fricks you because of the garden is raises up to the porch, but there are places that are taller.
Right there.
Yep,
Taller than
30.
33 feet or 30 inches?
Is the railing on the second floor also 39 inches?
It is.
Okay.
Catherine was quite surprised when I brought that measurement back to the studio.
Yeah, I think I kind of balances out the front. I have it at the bottom, I feel like. I think it does enhance the look, having the railing on the bottom. And one thing, kind of from an architectural standpoint, if you look at the, on page 5 of the staff report, or if you're, page 5 of 23, let's see, east elevation. It's just something about the proportions of having kind of that section of fence that is kind of adjacent to where the door ends, and then the partial steps. I mean, I think in an ideal world, it might be nice to have the steps going all the way across, kind of the doors centered on the steps, and then not have that little section of fence there maybe, and have the fence between the columns, if that makes sense. But
I only have to work with what's there.
that is existing conditions, so that's, I do recognize that. But if it is over that, over the limit for needing a railing, then that is a safety issue as well.
Okay. Is there a motion or more questions? Looks fairly simple.
I move to approve HPCA 18-00132 to install railing at first floor porch with the specific findings listed in the staff report.
Second.
Moved by Neela Craig-Clemens, a second by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, you've been approved.
Thank you. Hope you guys have a good afternoon.
All right. Next case.
HPCA 18-00135 at 931 Northwest 18th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Allison McApoor by Mike Muller of Majestic Construction and Roofing, Oklahoma, for a certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace 3 basement windows, elective.
Okay, is the applicant, oh, there he is.
Hi, Mike Muller with Majestic Construction.
So there's basement windows all the way around this house.
The windows that are visible from the street on Ollie are those 2 windows. and that one right there is on the back of the house, and those are the three that we, the basement windows are the three that we're proposing to replace.
I wonder, since the windows are character-defining features, I think the ones you're proposing move forward 6 inches, is that correct?
Yeah, we want to move them out to the same position that all the rest of the windows on the house are. Those basement windows, the walls are really deep. They're like 12 inches thick.
Wow.
And part of the problem is all the water sits right in there and runs inside. Those windows open in instead of out, so they trap water.
The existing basement windows, are these original?
Don't know if those are original. They're different from anything else on the house.
Would that indicate, maybe Mary Jo, you know, that they would not be original if they're different? Or would basement windows, is that a typical condition that they are different?
I mean, they could be. I mean, because they're so tall and there's so much, apparently, I don't know how tall your basement is, but it looks like, you know, it would be, they're probably kind of high up, so maybe they did, instead of doing a double hung where you would have to push it open, it would be difficult. It looks like they swing in.
There's a
They do
photograph.
swing in.
So, I mean, because of that, I think maybe they were original because it would be so hard to open them, and maybe it was really a well-used basement. It was certainly well-lit compared to
It is
other
a full-size basement.
full-size basement.
And I think when you're in the basement, they're probably come to about there.
Right.
So
About 42.
they're easy to operate.
Yeah, so not a problem operating them, but
Have you explored options for windows that would not require them to be pushed forward?
Other than the window manufacturer or the window company that I went to, she gave me two options. One was a aluminum-clad wood window, which is what we're proposing, and the other one was a wood window that we have to paint. And they all open out.
And opening out requires that they be pushed forward?
Yeah. I don't know of any windows that actually open in.
well, I've looked at some recently, and there are some, I just have to tell you that.
I'm sorry.
There are some that will pull in or push out. That I don't know about Anderson, but if that's a issue for the commission, I think they would be available. I don't know about how they fit in the jam, but operation-wise, they're probably set back further because they're always at the either inside or outside the jam.
I mean, it appears that the sill or the wood part is above the concrete. Is it not possible to put a new jam in there that has a slope? Or is it actually sitting?
Yes.
I mean, even if you came forward, it would still sit on the cast stone.
I suppose it would be possible to take all of that out. It's all rotten, and just replace all the jams and make windows for it. But I don't know of where we would go buy windows for that. We would have to find somebody to make wood sash windows, and I haven't used somebody for like 15 years. So I don't know if there's a guy out there now that makes old wood sash windows.
Makes what?
Yeah,
If there is somebody out there that makes wood sash windows, and then we try to hang these back like they were.
I would encourage you to explore that. We do have a couple of new companies that are supplying wood windows, and they've come before.
I guess
the
my
commission.
intent, my desire was to try to get a window that didn't have the problem with the water that would run right inside every time it rained.
Right.
And have windows that open out. Also, keeping with the aesthetics, and the brick mold on it that matches everything else on the house.
Because what you're proposing is a vinyl clad window, a metal clad
It's
window?
aluminum clad wood window. B-series.
Right. And we generally don't allow that anyway. Is that correct?
We do allow, we say aluminum-clad wood windows may be appropriate.
It was on the list of appropriate windows.
Possibly. I mean, sometimes, basement windows are so small and there are issues. I can see maybe going back with something that, is easier or solves a problem, but in this case, I feel like that you might even save money if you further explore maybe a wood window and what the wood window people that build the wood windows would say, because it's an easier build in some regards than like a double hung because it's of the way it is. And maybe there's a way that, the frame could be larger in the middle and you could open them out. Is that one of your objectives? Are you trying to be able to open them out?
Yes, ma'am.
Instead of inside?
Any window that bumps up to the jamb, the way these are, the water is going to run in between the window and the jamb.
Right, because it sits behind. They all sit behind it.
Now, right now, they're caulked up, and that's the only way to keep the water from getting in between the sash and the jamb. So if it's going to be an operating window, it's just a bad design.
Right.
Which that makes me wonder if that was original.
Bill, how old is your house? How old?
It's 100 years old, around there.
If it's original, it's worked somewhat for some. I would encourage you to. I mean, mine would be I would want to continue it and have you come back after talking to somebody that could build a custom window for you. Because,
Do we do a continuance then on
yes.
this?
Would you be amenable to that? Is it do you have an emergency situation on any of them, or you're ready to do it?
Yeah, well, right now, and not in this picture, but right now I have plastic over the windows because of the condition that the windows are in. That one.
I would like to see it continued for you to further explore some options. I don't know what other commissioners think. If anyone wants to approve it or...
No, I think it would help also. I'm not sure if, I'm not seeing it or if it's not included, but if you have the actual product sheets and details of a specific window, that is helpful as well. That gives it something concrete that we can review and improve.
He's got some cut sheets on Anderson. Yeah, in the back. Okay.
The new homeowners of this house just had a lot of mold remediation done in their basement because of leaking on the windows, these 3 windows. And my fear is that if we put in a window like these that open in, that the water is going to continue to run inside. It won't have anywhere to go but inside.
I mean, I'm not really sure when you say inside, because even a double-hung window is sat behind a piece of trim. So windows are behind,
Yeah, there's a nice little dado, and the window fits right into it. When the water hits that window, it runs right down, and it goes into that, and then it leaks. And that's why these are rotten.
Good experience there, sounds like. Okay, so motion to continue then?
And if I might just add, the windows that I'm proposing and moving them out to the outside of the brick veneer would match all the rest of the windows on the house
Just not the basement.
in position.
Questions or a motion or continuance or?
Well, as I'm looking at these photos, I do kind of understand what you're saying on the, if it's a double hung or casement that opens out, you do have that kind of lip at the bottom. That'll keep water from running out, and it looks like these basically just close against the bottom sill so that if water does get behind it, it just drips right in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm wondering if there's a way to retrofit that, because it does seem like the sill does have a slope down, and it looks like that little concrete curb has a slope as well. So in theory, it would run away from that joint.
Right. The stool does slope out.
If you have a driving range or something.
The problem is where the window meets the stool. And
There's a potential.
Now, I'm wondering if we do have a more modern, like a tilt-turn type window, like you were mentioning, like an Anderson, that functions the same, might even sit inside the frame similarly. I'm sure that a more modern window that operates the same way would have some kind of a lip or some way to keep water from running in like that. Otherwise, I'm sure there wouldn't be any market for them. So I think it'd be nice to see an option like I've heard some commissioners recommend, maybe some alternate window options that function the same way.
I mean, the in-swing instead of outswing?
Yeah, like we discussed, pretty much a version of, a modern version of this, to where you could replace the window. It functions the same, but I think that they would have some kind of either dado or some kind of a lip or something to keep water from running in.
you want me to find a window that opens in?
I think so. If we could find or at least, see what options there are, and then we,
Pretty sure they're available, and thinking about the sill condition would be similar to a double-hung window.
the only issue is
a casement, an outswing casement does seal the best because it's,
I mean, honestly, whether it's a casement or if it opens inside, I think the appearance would be similar. I'm trying to think of, because I think a lot of the, from thinking about it, I think it's all concealed. I think all the hinges and everything is concealed in the frame.
So
the rest of that house has double-hung wood sash windows on it, that side, not on the basement.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, of course, that gets completely away from what's there,
the appearance, yeah.
but it would solve the problem.
It seems like the sill condition would be the same. That was my point. So I guess we'd like to have you look for modern in-swing casement windows.
Okay, I will do my due diligence and find some options.
Okay.
The commission they have to specify a date to continue this to, so they can either do October 5th or November 7th.
The sooner the better.
Okay. We do have to have any new documentation from you by next week, so
Okay.
it doesn't give you much time, but.
If there's one out there, I'll find it.
Okay.
And we'll get it.
Good attitude.
I move to continue HPCA 18-00135 to replace 3 sets of basement windows to the October 5th meeting.
Okay.
Second.
So moved by Neil Clements, a second by Mary Jo Meacham. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, continued till next month. Thank you. Next case.
HPCA 18-00136 at 711 Northwest 19th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. This applicant had indicated they might be late. Are you Valerie? Yes. Did you want us to move this to the end of the docket, or you want to go ahead and be heard?
Let's go ahead.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, I'll continue. Consideration and possible action on application of Ursula and Valerie Bradshaw, Blue Wren Initiatives LLC for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage elective, 2, construct garage elective, 3, relocate windows on rear of structure elective, 4, reopen and replace enclosed front porch elective, 5, replace porch floor elective, 6, replace back door elective, 7, remove portion of driveway from backyard elective, 8, relocate portion of fence, elective, and 9, remove vinyl siding and soffit and repair wood material underneath in kind, elective.
Wow. It's an enclosed porch.
It is.
Have you looked at the conditions?
Of underneath the wood?
No, have you looked at the conditions that the staff wrote in the report?
Yes.
And do you have alternate materials for the conditions today? Or are you going to work with, are you open to working with staff? For example, under constructing the garage, it has finding an alternate soffit material, submitting additional details, and confirming the location. Do you have that information today, or are you going to need more time to work with staff, or do you want to accept those conditions?
Is it okay if we go ahead and, with the garage, we would like to go ahead and submit some additional information? I think we had hardy board in there for the siding, and actually it's the 117 siding. We want to go back with what was originally there, the wood siding, so, and make sure and verify the location that's correct.
I think we had emailed previously about that they were fine going ahead and using a bead board for the soffit.
Yes.
For the garage.
And exposed rafter tails as well.
Okay.
And then there was also a condition on the specific findings for 7, 8, and 9. The installation does not match the documented historic material, so that would also be something that you're willing to accept and work with staff on that condition.
Yes.
I have a question about the garage. I believe you're wanting an alley entrance, right? This is the one where you're wanting to change it to the alley entrance?
Yes.
And I understand there are other garages in that block that have entrance from the alley?
Yes, that's correct. My neighbor just due east of me has an alley access garage.
One of my concerns is the front of this garage then has no indication it's a garage, as the original garage looks like a garage. This one would not. It would look like a little house in your backyard, actually. So the other garages, do they have garage doors on the front of the garage as well? Because I'm kind of thinking that's what I'd like to see on yours.
Right.
Have a single car door right there as it is in the picture currently? Absolutely. We would be, yes, we can make that change. We would like to make that change and put a single car door back on the front so that from the street view it actually looks appropriate.
So you would match that door to the new doors on the other side, the alley side?
I think the garage door was actually a question too. There's documentation of a couple of different versions of the garage door that were submitted. So that was one of the conditions in the staff report too, just to make sure we get clarification on that, on what the design of the doors would be.
Are we making this a requirement? Because we've had other garages where they did open to the alley, but they didn't go back with it might have been, might have been evident that they were approached originally by the driveway and not the alley, but we've approved them being moved back. Not both sides. We've just they've been built with a door from the back, including properties where there was no garage, and the original garage on the Sanborn maps was shown at the end of a driveway, but the garage that they brought to us, because they were on an alley, they did an alley door.
Last month. We had one, I think.
I
was thinking it
I just
also
want to
had
be
a door
sure that we're not
from the
saying in the
street.
future, if the garage was on the front, that they have to retain a garage door on the front and then the new garage door on the back.
I can't remember.
I'm not saying no to, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that sounds kind of like what we're,
I feel like the one we approved last month, it did have alley access, but they also had a door on the front of the garage, so that from the street, you could see that it was a garage.
Right.
Not a little house.
but we have a lot of garages that are on alleys that don't have that. They just maybe sometimes they have the door or something. We just do so many garages. I just don't want to, I want to be sure that if we say from now on, if there's a garage door on the front, you have to buy a new one or retain that one. If we build a new garage, in addition to the garage door on the back, is that?
I don't think that it's a forever and at every garage
Right.
thing. And I haven't analyzed our alley garage patterns. I feel like sometimes when we have garages that access the alley, they're all the way back behind the house where you don't see them from the street, as opposed to a garage that would have been accessed via a driveway where you do see the
Right.
entire front facade of the garage. That was a difference to me as I was looking at this.
Ms. Bradshaw, can you clarify for us the garage door that you're hoping to install? I'm looking at 3 pages, page 20, 21, and 22 of the staff report. Page 21 shows a wood door. Page 22 shows a fiberglass door, and the muntin detail is different.
Different.
So is it wood, fiberglass, and which muntin detail?
It's going to be wood.
Okay.
Definitely. Both of the garages would be wood.
And what about the light division on the windows at the top of the door?
It's going to be like the one on page, right, because that's got a divided one.
It looks like page 20 and page 22
Are
have
consistent.
are consistent, and then page 21 is different. So which is it?
Correct. It's going to be the one on 20 and 22.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that light division is not what you have now, so the
Would you-
multiple pane.
Do you want the 21?
Well, I just like the single, I don't know how to describe it, single panel, not multi-panel, multi-light.
Yeah, so what you've proposed is different from what exists currently, where it's just a square piece of glass. There's no
It's more
division.
similar to 21, except the existing has 4 panels vertically instead of 3 on page 21. We selected it. It's similar. And your door looks like it also has 2 large sections, so it might work, even though it says it's a carriage door. House design. But you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Vertically, there's 3 panels on the one you submitted, and your existing is 4.
I see.
Changes the proportion of the windows.
Okay.
So I'd be fine if it was 4 panels vertically.
So, Mr. Brown, does it feel like to you that in this particular photograph, we do have vertical divisions for that? And when we start to purchase garage doors, that those proportions change based on the size of the opening?
Well, it's true.
Is that accurate?
It's true, so I'd want to keep that same proportion of the windows and the panels, but it's true. You go to a single wide door, they usually have wider panels, so we'd have to see we need to have something submitted, I think.
Thank you.
We do administratively approve garage doors, so that's something that
Yeah.
staff would be comfortable being a submission,
Yeah.
submittal to staff if
Right.
if the commission's comfortable with that.
Right. Okay.
So is the front garage door going to be a condition of the approval?
Well, I understood they agreed to that. Is that okay?
Yes.
So I guess we're okay with the demolition? Staff says it is quite deteriorated, and any repair would pretty much get rid of any of the historic fabric, so they've recommended approval. If no one has a comment, I'll make a motion.
I'm good.
Okay. Approve HPCA 18-00136, Item 1, to demolish the garage with the 3 specific findings as listed in the staff report.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Neela Crank-Clemens, a second by Klaus Ryman Phillip. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just that one item.
Oh, I thought you were, I was...
There's 8 more.
Next item. That's a demolition only.
Sorry.
He's getting all excited because I'm next.
Well, I think we're ready to approve the garage construction. So I will move to approve item 2, construct the garage of HPCA 18-00136 with the conditions and specific findings in the staff report, plus the requirement condition, I suppose it is, that condition that the garage have a front garage door and the front person door.
Similar to the existing.
Yes. Oh, plus, do we need to say anything about those windows, or is that clearly understood that staff will take care of that?
Yeah, I think staff will work with
You
the
can say
applicant.
with revised design submitted to staff, and that'll capture it.
Yeah, with revised designs submitted to staff and approved by
What she
staff.
said.
Okay.
What she said.
Okay, second?
Second.
Been moved by Suzanne Broadbent and second by Neela Crank-Clemens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that one's approved.
I'm thrilled you're going to reopen the front porch.
Yep.
I'm sorry?
I said, I'm thrilled that you're going to reopen the front porch.
Me too. Usable, I just think nursery, and
Yeah.
this seems wrong.
Yeah. They're proposing to relocate windows and replace a back door. Both are on the back of the structure, which we tend to be a little more lenient about.
Narrow the driveway a little bit.
Near the driveway, sure, which you can't see from the street anyway. So unless anyone has any other comments, I'll make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00136, items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, with the specific findings listed in the staff report and the conditions as well.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Neela Crank-Clemens, second by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the remainder are approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now it's my turn. Would you take over? For me? Thank you.
Okay, Katie? Oh.
HPCA 18-00139 at 229 Northwest 32nd Street, Edgemere Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Brandon and Sophia Brewer by Alan Brown for a certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish north wall of house elective, 2, demolish deck and concrete slab elective, 3, construct addition elective, 4, demolish garage elective, 5, demolish north part of driveway elective, 6, construct new garage elective, and 7, construct new driveway elective.
Looks like we have Mr. Brown to
Hello.
speak on behalf of this case.
Alan Brown, 215 Northwest 32nd Street, to be official.
Okay. Lots of work to be done here. Comments from commissioners?
Well, I understand from staff that it's there, but I'm not quite sure I see it. The addition, the indication that it's offset or something from the
Well,
original.
it's hard to offset because there's a room that's being expanded. So we used a reveal, just
Okay.
I think we said a 4-inch reveal. That would create a separation between the old and the new, 1 by 4.
Okay. I just couldn't see it in here, so I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that we...
It's on on page 2 of 35. I listed the work items under item 3, last bullet.
Oh, I see it now. Thank you.
For the non-architects, including your staff, can you explain what exactly that involves? We can see it on the elevation, but I don't think it's shown on the plans or anything. Yeah.
It'll be 4 inches wide, and it'd be like a vertical line, a brick that's just set back an inch. It's like a brick detail.
Just like a little inset.
Yeah. It'd be continuous from top to bottom. It's shown on the elevation, but that's what it would be. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so that delineates the historic from the new. That's the purpose of the
Yeah.
4-inch reveal.
Yep, it'd be on the east and the west.
Okay. Staff noted that the overall height of the garage has not been compared to the existing or to adjacent garage structures. Can you address that?
Well, we did. I measured it and sent that. Do you remember what I sent you? And I changed the roof pitch from 812 to 612 to,
To lower
to lower
the
it
roof?
to the same pitch as the existing garage. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have that number in front of me. I could look it up.
It does kind of look like if on the west elevation of the garage, it's about as low as the roof eave can be. Looks like it's just above the door.
Well, as far as the eave line?
Yeah, it looks like the roof is sitting down about
Yeah.
as low as it could.
Low as it can go as far as the eave line, and the pitch is the same as the existing garage roof. I did calculate that. But it's a little larger garage, so it's a little taller. Makes sense.
Alan, I have a question on the, like, page 18 of 35 on the gable detail.
Yeah.
You know, have you seen many other roof lines like that? To see a roof you can step on from the ground, I mean, it's kind of
Oh, that low, the extension of the roof
Yeah.
going so low, it's
I don't know if I've seen anything
kind of
like that.
unusual, but then you see about everything in some of these houses are eclectic.
What is on the inside of the house right there?
There's a little closet inside there. I think it's shown on the plan. There's an existing plan. Yeah, look at page 11 of 35.
Okay.
That shows there's a little long skinny closet in there. The lower right.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. There's a matching one on the left side.
It's a unique design to put the roof like that, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
It's still
triangular.
called a gable, right? That's still gable?
Use every square inch.
So the skylights, those are on the back of the house? Is that right?
They're on the east side, and I was going to do a view from the street. I forgot. I think they'll be slightly, they're behind the front gable, if there's a front view. They're behind the right side of the front gable, but I think if you got far enough back, you could probably see them from the street. But they're on the east slope of the back part of the roof.
So staff felt like the location of those skylights and the amounts, I think is there 3? How many skylights? Yeah, 3. That fits within the guidelines?
You can see it pretty clearly on page 17 of 35 at the top.
Right.
You can see that it would be behind the front facing
Right.
central portion there.
Right, typically when we have that roof form, it blocks the view pretty well from the street of the roof that extends back.
Okay.
On page 18.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
There's a southeast view. That's a pretty good angle. I think it'd be pretty obscure, probably.
Be pretty hard to see, but
Yeah. Because you have an adjacent house right next to it.
Yep.
Couldn't really get around. I wouldn't think to really see them.
Any comments on the demolition of the garage from commissioners?
Is that some kind of a stucco that they apply, or what?
what's that?
What is the finish on the existing garage? Looks like they have some kind of stucco applied, or?
Yeah, it's some kind of stucco. Yeah, it's been added to, not physically, but it's been remodeled and modified, and I'm not sure what's there, but you can see in the base, the foundation, you can see how it's shifted off the foundation, and then the inside is, I can't even tell what's existing in there. So, and the floor is cracked, you know, it's typical. There's no foundation, it's just slab, built on a slab.
So staff has recommended approval of all items with one condition. Proposed garage should be compared to the existing garage and adjacent garages and determined to be compatible. You said the pitch was 612?
612
The
on the
height's maybe 15 feet?
Okay.
Any other comments?
So I understand that you did do a comparison and lowered the height because of the comparison that you did.
Yes.
So to the best of our knowledge at this point, it's
Yes,
compatible?
that's the same. Is it?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So then we wouldn't need that condition listed if it's been done?
Correct.
Okay. Other comments or a motion?
I'll make a motion for HPCA 1800139, item 4, to approve the demolition of the garage.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Mary Jo Meacham, second by George Massey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So item 4 has been approved.
I make a motion for HPCA 1800139 to approve the following items. Item 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7, with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Mary Jo Meacham, seconded by George Massey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you've been
Okay,
approved.
thank you.
HPCA 18-00141 at 508 Northwest 15th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application of J. Whipple by Sam Gresham of SGA PC for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage elective, and 2, construct garage elective. You did have a comment letter from the Heritage Hills Code Compliance and Preservation Review Committee at your seats. Did we get this to you? Did you get a copy of this, Holly?
I got an email from Angela that David Box
Okay.
had sent something. Is this the same thing you're just talking about?
Yes, I think it's the same thing.
Okay, yeah, we were made aware. Mhm.
Okay, I am back. Okay.
Katie, you said there's a letter from the neighborhood on this one?
Yes, it was, at your seat.
I have one from David Box.
Oh, I didn't know we had one from David Box.
That's the one I mean.
Oh, okay. So there's also one that says in bold, Heritage Hills Code Compliance and Preservation Review Committee across the top.
June 28th.
Yep, it's actually, so it's for their previous CA, it says for the previous CA number, I think that was just a typo.
Okay.
This property's had a couple of applications before you in recent months.
Thanks.
Katie, would you tell me what that one said? That one's in support, though, as well? Because I don't think I did see that one.
Here, I'll give you mine. Yeah.
Oh.
So it seems the argument for demolition is that there's too much weight.
Well, mostly the entire roof structure is just not compatible with its finished condition. So whatever time it went from being, just a stable house, a carriage house, to an enclosed house, a lot of things were added, including weight, and those 1x4s just, and Klaus could tell you, any architect, it's just way too little structure for composite shingles, for example. And
it could be rebuilt and new shingles added that would not provide so much weight.
The structural engineer is recommending demolition. Because a big part of this request would also be to move the garage to where it kind of puts some space back into the backyard, so moving it both to the east and slightly to the rear of the property or to the south. And so I think that that's part of it, is if we were to try to pick this up and move it, it would all come crumbling down. and our structural engineers supported that.
Honestly, when I did first review this case, I was looking at the garage, and honestly, the ridge lines all look really straight. I mean, I could see, I think you pointed out in one place where the roof might be sagging a little bit, but, you know, to me, it seems like you could add some framing and shore it up. You know, I would almost, the one thing that does concern me is some of these older garages, you know, they're really pretty close to grade, which this one is as well. So having the garage so close to the ground sometimes can be a concern. But as a, you know, the structure, you know, I think it could be shored up if that was the main concern.
Particularly where the dormer roof meets the house, especially on the north side, it's a pretty good indication that it is sagging there. And I think it was, if you could go back, on the other side, you can see it, the angle's a little bit better, but yeah. Right there. That one, yeah.
Since I had a personal involvement with this particular home, I have a little better knowledge of this than I normally would, having been through the house and the garage and went upstairs and all of that. Seeing the engineers' reports, I think they would be reticent not to say there was some problem wrong with the garage in case something happened to it later. I could understand that. And as in a construction point, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a construction company, but this one honestly feels like it could be rehabilitated and it wouldn't be anywhere near the cost of a new garage. There was the one on 17th Street and Chartel that was on TV. Anybody see that show a couple of weeks ago? They did some extensive work to that garage. I mean, they hoisted it up and a new floor, I believe, and a lot of things. So to me, this one falls just kind of hard. I kind of agree with the neighborhood on this one because of not only it's that it could be rehabilitated, but the kind of the historical significance is pretty interesting to the neighborhood, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Massey. Unlike a lot of garages that come before us, this one really does have some historical significance, it seems to me, and it appears that it would be moved not that far, so that I don't think we're adding that much to the backyard, the new garage, I mean. So
It goes from a 14-foot setback on that east side to 5 feet, so it moves 9 feet over.
Oh, you're wanting to move the garage back in addition to...
Right, correct. Yeah, and that's the thing. When we looked at the options for picking this sucker up and moving it, and that's when we got a structural engineer involved, and I think he was mostly concerned, and what his report talks about the most is that roof. And I wish I had a better picture. I think the structural engineer does. But what they did when they added that way is they went in and added what he's kind of talking about, this J. Let me find it just briefly. I'm sorry. There's some kind of J bolts. So what they did was take pieces of or wood studs and extended them, connected them with the top ridge line, and have the floor joists basically hanging from that top ridge line. So that's not even. So anyway, that again, all of that is what's causing the sagging, and I think in order to try to move it to gain some yard space for the homeowners, they didn't feel the structure could withstand that. And the homeowners love the garage. They think it's absolutely adorable. We are reusing every single piece of material that we can in the rebuild. And to its likeness, the only issue really is needing to separate those two single doors enough to where it's more usable. Right now, there's like 10 inches or less. So once 2 cars pull in, you can't open doors on either side of that division.
So you're saying that the ceiling in the garage is supported from the roof? Because the span is so long and they're just...
Right, because it's
2x8s.
spanning 20 feet, and they're 2x8s.
So they're
which
hanging from
not
the
the
roof.
standard. We don't see that all the time with these. We do. But that's pretty small piece of lumber to go 20 feet. Certainly not what would be allowed today.
And I don't dispute that the framing might be somewhat insufficient. I guess my hesitation is that it's, the short time that I've served on the Historic Preservation Commission, this is probably the most intact, well-preserved garage I've seen come through requesting demolition. And to me, nothing seems like it creates a life safety issue, and I feel like all the problems that you mentioned could be rectified, whether you add some extra framing, shore it up. I mean, it seems like one of the main desires here is to move the garage over basically, but to get that extra yard space, which I can appreciate, but if that comes at the cost of tearing down a garage that's in seemingly pretty good condition, I don't know if that's a strong enough justification.
Yeah, I think white paint and some new shingles went a long way to cover some of the disrepair over the years in the photos. And again, several layers of shingles up there, again, adding to the weight. But yes, from the outside, it looks really nice.
I mean, I understand what everybody's saying, but we do, in this case, have and I know that people, feel like when people hire an engineer, they're going to go your direction. But it is very specific what they're talking about, and I feel somewhat uncomfortable just dismissing the engineer's report and saying that, they always go on the customer side or the client side, and then where is the liability in that? We're dismissing a professional engineering report. Even though I understand that, we get a lot and they go, it's not in good shape. But, I mean, even the architect is telling us that in thoroughly describing, that. I mean, I understand the historical significance, but I'm not so sure that I feel comfortable dismissing the engineer. If there wasn't an engineer's report, perhaps, and then we said, could you go get one? But they have made the effort and invested in the report. So
I agree, and I'm not an engineer, I'm an architect, so I look at it, and to me, if the ridges seem pretty straight, and just from these images, it's kind of tough to see sagging,
And how much original material is there? I mean, that would be my other question. I mean, even though the new design is identical.
It is nearly identical, a little deeper in the rear, but all the roof pitches will be matched, the dormer size and configuration matched identically.
I mean, I would question that before I would say no, as to actually how much original material is there also that we're saving, or is it just the shape? If it's the shape of the building that we're concerned about, and they're actually proposing to do something identical to it, I mean, obviously the doors aren't original, and that was a large part of it looking like a horse barn or whatever it was. So, I don't know.
I will say to your credit, it looks like you're pretty much, like you said, replacing the garage in kind, with a little bit deeper. So I don't think it wouldn't adversely affect the site. It's secondary to the main structure. It's similar to the original garage.
Is there going to be an attic in the new one?
Yes, there would be. Very similar to what we have, it's just we'd use LVL beams to support that weight.
You're not going to use the J hooks?
I'm sorry, no, not this time round.
Very, very creative.
Thank you, Mary Jo. And I would just also mention every single existing window will get reused in almost its exact same location. That's, if you'll look at your existing plan to the new, they're relocated in almost the exact same place. So, it's almost the same thing. I mean, if we were to try to preserve it and put all this stuff in it, I think we'd end up replacing just as much for the same outside overall end, by the time it's all said and done. We want to preserve the structure, but it's just at this junction, we're trying to find the best way to do so.
Did you feel when you explored the building that there was original material, a lot of?
I think that at some point when this carriage house was enclosed, that they used this also as a servant's quarters. And so then I think that attic space went from storing hay to storing people. And so, some things had been added, like the windows. In the pictures, you can see the rear dormer. It looks like they just took maybe 2 old sashes and stuck them side by side. And so, it looks like a secondary structure that was utilized for a different purpose at some point in its history. But the materials are, they're old, for sure. Sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to your comment about the structural engineer's report, and this is just a general comment when we review demolitions, that I always point out to applicants that it's really important to read the last line of the ordinance that says, and now I can't find it, that talks about that the structure is in a state of decay or ruin and poses an imminent threat to public health or safety, and the demolition of said structure is required to alleviate said threat. So I always encourage any applicant that it's not just a matter of bringing in a report that says it's an imminent threat or it's a public safety hazard, but you also have to show that those threats and those hazards cannot be alleviated. So that's just on the evaluating structural engineers reports, one of the things we look at.
Do you have any initial bids for what a new garage would cost?
Not that I know of. I thought the owner would be here. He must have gotten held up, so I could find out for sure.
I'm just curious because it looks like it would be a $60,000 or $70,000 garage to me.
Well, they may have a bid just because they're currently undertaking the renovation of the main house. So we've got contractors on site. I mean, I think in some of the pictures you can even tell. But yes, so yeah, you can tell there. So I'm sure that they've looked at that, and this is the way that they want to go. So I'm guessing it's probably affordable, something they're prepared to do.
I just wish there would be some way we could have an independent engineer's report. I know we don't have budget for that, I would assume. Because it
Didn't mention the floor, I don't think, but it's also got large cracks in it. Replacing a slab is difficult in existing building, especially when there's no foundation on the exterior. He said there was an 8-inch curb. That's barely a slab depth, so.
And that kind of goes back to one of my earlier comments. I mean, some of the old garages are so close to the ground, it's kind of tough sometimes to keep water damage from happening, especially in the sill plate. So, building new gives you the opportunity to give it a little more of a curb.
It can be done, but it's.
Yeah, it mentions gaps similar to your project, where the framing has separated from what foundation is there, or the slab, I should say.
Right.
It mentions that.
And the roof structure is so.
The roof is mostly the problem. What is unsalvageable and
Never seen that before.
Irreparable.
Okay.
Well, ultimately, I think I do trust that the engineer gave an honest report. So unless we have any other comments, I think I'll make a motion to approve.
Alan, I think we have someone from the audience.
We do have somebody standing up. Would you like to speak, man? Sorry, I didn't mean to rush or anything, but.
Heritage Hills Historic Preservation Review. It's a long committee name. So I'm also here apparently on Garage Demolition Day, but we have comments in your packet, and I don't want to go through those again, but I do want to say that this particular garage, when we review these, we review them first for historic preservation, which means preserving them. And then we review carefully whether the proposed application meets all the guidelines in the municipal code and the ordinances, because that is the basis for which we make our recommendations. And our review of this really is that those are not really ambiguous requirements for demolition in a historic preservation district. And we just accepted the staff's inspection and their experience with these kinds of structures and what could be saved. So it's kind of this particular garage was a stable house, and if you are viewing it from as a historic structure, is it critical and does it have value in that way to the property and to the district as a whole? Well, then it meets those requirements. So for us, after that kind of analysis, which is fairly fact-based, fairly clear, then this garage doesn't meet those requirements. One of the things we strive to do, as you do, is to be reasonable. I mean, everybody wants closets, and everybody sort of wants nice things and nice garages, and so within the context of what we think we're tasked with reviewing, we try to be reasonable about people's efforts and appreciative of their investment in Heritage Hills to make their properties comfortable and livable for modern life. I mean, that's clearly what we want people to do. At the same time, balancing that with what is written in the ordinances and code and guidelines. And so each of us who live there sort of makes the commitment to live within those constraints when we buy the property there. We're not going to get to have some things, and we make that contract with the rest of the neighborhood when we move in. So, maybe demolishing garages, I mean, there are very few that can't be rehabbed, and that was the reason I used that example. That was really not easy. I mean, probably I would have let them demolish it. So if you drive through Heritage Hills, and I know you all do, because I know you look at it, many, many garages have risen from the ashes. And replicas are not historical, and it is a historical district. So we try to keep that in the forefront of our minds when we're doing the review, and it's not easy, and you guys do a very difficult job and do it well. I just kind of wanted to say this is our process, so it's not just because we don't like that garage. I mean, it isn't that. We try to hew to code, the ordinance, and the standards and guidelines, because we think that consistency in that is the fairest way to treat everyone. And demolition is kind of a contradiction to preservation. So what we would ask is that you consider those when there are demolition requests in the historic districts. Thank you. Are you having questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We try to do that. It's not always easy.
And I understand what you're saying, too. I mean, I really, I think this is a difficult one for me, too, but I still feel, I'm not totally convinced, but when you look at all of the items that would have to go as far as part of the building to actually correct the building, what I see the architect and the engineer saying is that the roof would go, all of the roof framing would go, the interior framing would have to be completely redone to actually recreate the roof again. I'm not really, so in the end on this one, and others are smaller, they have to do the same thing. That's why we generally, unfortunately, let them be demolished. I mean, the floor, the slab is cracked. It's going to need a new foundation. All that they are going to be able to reuse, and whether it would even remain in place while they were doing this, would be the exterior siding and the windows and doors.
So what's left?
I mean, in this case, to actually make a safe and long-lasting building, I mean, that's why I was asking about how much original material was there. We've had other ones where we did not let them do anything. It was brick, and there was cast stone, and it was easier but they still couldn't use it because of the size of the door. They had to build a new garage because they couldn't even use that one. I mean, it's the garages that are the better examples. I mean, I feel like we really do try to keep them, but this one is difficult due to the extensive amount of renovation it's going to have to take.
I think the problem is it looks good on the exterior. So we're having
right.
problems, plus it's a little bit more than our standard garage would get as far as significance.
I wish you all had the chance to go by 17th and Chartel. That was one that was remodeled and rehabilitated. It worked out very well. I went by it today.
One of the things I think that, Klaus, I think you mentioned that I don't understand years ago why garages were built, virtually at grade, because then they always have rotting sills. They're always, there's no foundation. I guess they consider them to be sort of temporary or something. They weren't quality of the main house.
The weight of the car that they put in it was considerably less.
Different, but still, though, drainage on the site. You've seen many that they had they weren't raised above the ground at all, hardly. So, anyhow, this one has that problem too. One side of it apparently is partially below grade. That's just a matter of time before the whole sill plate rots. So, that's something you can't fix very easily.
The staff report sort of laid out the rationale for saving it, and it was said, if we're going to continue it for more information, but we weren't sure exactly what information would change the recommendation. You see what I mean? So maybe what you're talking about, I'm not sure that this garage has been given that much analysis in terms of what are we really talking about here in terms of what would it take to rehabilitate it? What would it take to, we can bring you examples of garages that the roof isn't right because this one was a stable. So in 40 or 50 or 60 years or 100 years or whatever of additions, it's sort of messed up. But I'm not sure it doesn't mean you can't fix it. So that was it was sort of confusing at the end because it was a continuance, but we weren't sure what information would change the recommendation. So maybe that would help.
Well, for starters, we almost never recommend denial of something off the bat, because everyone kind of deserves the opportunity to thoroughly make their case. We tend to leave that fairly open so that the commission can voice whatever else they think they need to justify a decision. At times, we've done site visits when it was a more high-style garage or when there were a lot of questions about the condition of the structure. Otherwise, I think we've asked in the past for just more information on the structural engineer's reports or additional photos, that sort of thing. So.
And I would just to that point, and I appreciate her bringing that up, because I really feel like the homeowners, after speaking with them, they're ready to move forward. I also suggested, well, you know, if they continue it, that's not a bad thing. But honestly, I don't know what else we would bring to help prove our case beyond the structural engineer recommendations and just the closest rebuilding and preserving of the structure that we can come up with. So,
I think I would feel better if there was if it could be continued and you have a bid about rehabilitation versus a new garage, because I don't think it would even come close to what a new garage would cost, in my estimate. I'm no construction.
That doesn't seem, I mean, we generally don't ask for that, but, I mean, that to me would start a lot of issues if we were asking for the price.
Yeah, we really are not allowed to consider the cost. I mean, we are charged, the commission is charged with historic preservation regardless of aside from someone making an actual economic feasibility case and providing all sorts of financial documents. We really are not able, and I would say as staff, we frequently have people offering us documentation on, look how much cheaper it would be for me to replace these windows than it would be to repair these windows. And we tell them we don't want it, we're not putting it in the staff report because that's not something we're charged to consider. I do think getting to that last line of the ordinance, that asking for more information about what would be required to do the repairs is a reasonable request, not necessarily from the financial standpoint, but the actual work items involved in repairing.
See what would be left, like Joe said.
I mean, I think the engineer was pretty clear on that. There's nothing, none of the framing is to code or appropriate.
But the engineer did say in his recommendation that replacement of the entire roof to include all framing is recommended using current code standards. So that says to me that there is a way to alleviate the threat, and that speaks to that last line in the municipal code for standards for demolition.
I've just had a sale near your home down the street from you. Engineers' reports are now going into the attics a lot more, at least the people I've been working with, as much as the foundation. And if you get into the roof, just about every engineer would say there's some problem with the structure of this roof.
Right.
Every time.
Most of the roof framing will not meet current codes.
Right.
So does that mean you demolish all the houses?
And then to alleviate chimneys.
Yeah.
Because if you're not using it, you want to have it look pretty and stick out of the roof, but if it's not being used, get rid of it. Because if there's an earthquake, that's going to cause a lot of damage if that thing falls over in the attic.
And so there's a lot of that. Yeah, you got to draw a line somewhere. It's a little bit of common sense. Kind of torn.
Well, to bring up another issue, I have a problem with changing the setback on a garage of this size and this significance to the property. Guideline 4.4.3 says that construction of a new or replacement garage should follow the historic setback for a garage on the property or setback patterns of other garages in the streetscape or historic district. And so, you know, I know we've allowed changes sometimes, but this particular garage is significant to the way this property looks, to the way that it expresses its historic character, and I just don't think it's appropriate to change the setback that's being asked for.
Basically move it to the east.
With the extensive changes and beautiful addition that was approved, it sounds like the owners are more as interested in a new placement because of the backyard space and how this looks overall from a bird's eye view as much as the problems with the garage.
And I would just say that on the street, this is the only garage that has that kind of setback from its side yard. It's very unusual.
I'm sorry, from the side
From
yard?
the side yard, yes. And that's mostly what we're concerned with, is pushing it nearer to that east side of the property or to the side yard. We don't really impose any farther in the back, I think about 2 feet, and that's all. So we're really just concerned with getting it as close to the property line as possible. And the neighbor to the east, theirs is directly on their property line. We're still allowing for a 5 feet setback.
If you look at page 8, you can see the neighbor's garage.
That is a unique situation. You have to go through a garage to get to the garage, right?
Oh, I'm sorry?
The house next door to the east, you have to go through this, I don't know, Paul, if you can show that next
Oh,
house.
no, I didn't.
You have to go through that side garage you see. That's not the garage. They may use it as one, but the real garage is behind the house.
Huh.
Kind of odd configuration.
Very odd.
They go on a while.
I guess we could take a vote. Who's in the deny category, who's in the continue, and who's in the approve?
I don't feel very good about this at all, myself.
I'm sorry, the architect has expressed that they have no additional information,
If we were to continue,
unless you have a request.
they could make some of the items you brought up about the safety and what can be done about that last part of it you mentioned before. Is that would be, if we would continue to find out more about that? That makes sense?
I think, that's something that the commission could ask for, is additional information about exactly what repairs would be necessary to make it functional.
So continue it?
That would be my feeling.
May I ask a question just on how this all works? Say we were to be denied today, if you guys decided to do that, would they have to wait before we could make a new proposal? A year or something? Or,
No?
okay.
An appeal.
That's what I was-
Depends on what kind.
Yeah. So the commission can deny with prejudice or without prejudice. With prejudice means you would have to wait a year before you applied for the same thing. If they came back and proposed something different,
That'd be allowed.
That'd be allowed.
Okay.
Denied without prejudice means you don't have to wait at all. And that's what we've done sometimes when people maybe just had incomplete documentation and couldn't get to the finish line and
Sure.
we ran out of continuances.
Sure.
Usually we continue it if just need more information.
Yeah, so Holly, the other option is to continue it so the applicant has time to provide to the commission exactly what repairs would be required to alleviate the threats.
And the feasibility therein, I'm guessing, of doing completely new structure on the inside, but trying to keep everything in place on the
Right.
exterior.
Right.
I mean, I would like to see more information in regards to the historic material and/or historic photographs. Because, preservation does extend to recreation. So there's still, when they look at it completely, does it mean that they're going to have to replace all of the framing and the siding when they start to look at it? Is it in disrepair? Like she says, white paint and a new roof in a photograph can be deceiving when you look at the condition, because we know that at the bottom, that the wood at the bottom is not in good condition because it's all resting on the ground. So,
And has been failing for some time, and I think there's little telltale signs that somebody's come in and tried to do some shoring, tried to get a little bit more lifetime out of it. And at this point, I just feel it's imminent.
Okay, so continue?
I'll just second what I heard, I think from my kind of experience in construction, it seems like something that you could, shore up without totally blowing the place up. But as Mary Jo mentioned, if you start getting into a situation where, you replace over half the garage trying to fix it, then it isn't practical necessarily to save the garage. So I would like to see it continuous, I think, to see what kind of repairs would be required.
I would take back to the owners perhaps the comments in regards to moving it, that the location, could play a role.
Okay.
All right, so they want,
Well, I'm at your mercy.
so they want to make that
Do what
motion?
you will.
To the October 5th or November 7th meeting.
Sooner the better, I would guess.
Okay. I move to continue HPCA 18-00141 to the October 5th meeting, and that's for both items 1 and 2.
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Neela Clements and second by George Massey. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, continued. And unfortunately, I have to leave, and Neela's going to take over.
HPCA 18-00142 at 825 Northwest 39th Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Jim Briscoe and Janet Williams by Sam Gresham of SGA PC for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct addition at garage elective, and 2, replace pair of garage doors with one 16-foot garage door elective.
Okay, I seem to remember in the staff report that staff needed more material details. Were those provided since the packet went out?
Yes, I did provide more additional information just on the doors, mutton sizes, and what else did we get to Angela that time? I believe so, but maybe we should ask Angela, because I think she's the one that put that one in, didn't she?
Yes, she was working on this one with you.
Right.
There
And
was a
she,
design request too for a reveal.
for a delineation? Oh, I did not see that. I'm sorry. I wasn't aware that she had requested that. It's such a small addition. I almost feel like drawing attention to it makes it a little less appealing. And not to say that I don't understand the reason for the delineation. I do, but it just seems a little impractical and counterintuitive to the design. And it's just stepping back 2 feet on that one side, so, or 4 feet, I believe. But we could certainly put up a piece of trim board. That's not something we would be opposed to doing.
Would trim board be the delineation that's something that we would approve?
We have approved that past as a method of differentiating on additions. I do think that we have also approved additions that were very small without any differentiation in the past, particularly when it's located at the rear of the property. I know we recently had I think it was a very small porch that was enclosed or added on, and there was no, it was such a small area that it seemed like it would just look off to have,
And I would mention,
between the old and
it's
new.
stucco material.
Yeah.
So putting something like that, it wouldn't, it's completely not seen anywhere else on the structure, so it would seem to just be an eyesore rather than augmenting the style.
Yeah, I'm inclined to disagree that we need any reveal or trim piece. But if there are other comments.
It's a little easier with the brick to do a reveal like that with stucco.
Okay, so the conditions for item 1, Holly, did you have a look at those? There are 3, I think. The third one I don't think we need to have there, but the other 2, can you provide those to staff?
See, again, when we first talked, and I know we kind of get the square feet issue, or I do, I always get it confused, but I was under the impression that you could do an addition up to 5% and of your lot, and I guess that's the maximum for the total. Am I saying that right? But I feel like I did all the calculations, and we were still within 5% of the lot. Is that what we're talking about?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. On the conditions, let's see, it's page 10 of 11 of the staff report. Item 1 is that you provide a demolition plan of the existing garage prior to release of the CA, and then item 2 is that all materials be documented. Do you see that?
Yes.
And that's for item 1,
Okay,
to construct addition to garage.
yes.
Staff has recommended approval with unique circumstances and conditions. So I just wanted to make sure that you're okay with those conditions.
Yes, okay, I'm sorry, yeah, I was not understanding what you were asking me, but
Okay.
yes, I do now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I think on that number 1, the demolition plan, was, we have an existing floor plan, we have a proposed floor plan, and it was just to clarify how much of the existing garage will be torn off.
Yeah.
When they, is it just the rear
Basically,
wall?
just that rear wall. If we could grab it and pull it, we would. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right, just to get a little larger restroom in that back, in the servants' quarters, as well as room. Because Janet loves her little Mini Cooper, but she may not always want a Mini Cooper, so we need to make room.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 1800142, items 1 and 2, with the conditions for item 1 that are listed in the staff report, but limited to conditions 1 and 2 to be included with unique circumstances, and then the specific findings as noted by staff in the staff report.
So you recommended approval for item 2 as well?
Yes.
Staff had recommended a continuance, so do you want to add any additional specific findings that would lend toward making an approval?
Were there any comments? Nobody commented on the doors. Were there any comments from the commissioners on the doors?
So they're going from 2 doors to proposing a single door, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is it due to the size of the openings?
Yes.
And what are
Very
the opening
extremely narrow.
sizes currently? What
They're
are
very
those?
narrow. Oh, they're 7.5 feet
The
wide.
distance between
Is also extremely narrow, and I've got that dimensioned on the, let me find it, and I'll tell you exactly. I believe it's only 10 inches.
It is, it says 1 foot 2 inches.
Okay. Right, yeah.
So why are they wanting to replace those 2 doors with 1 door?
Just for maneuverability. And on the site plan, you can see as you go to turn in the left bay, it gets very tight. And so that radius, especially backing out, it's just really not feasible. It would be much easier for them to maneuver with a double wide opening.
I can understand that. The home I had in historic was much easier. So I had to kind of jockey, but if I'd had 2 doors, it wouldn't have happened.
Right, because that little, even 14 inches allows your car to come in and then swing back right.
Right.
And it makes a big difference. It certainly does.
New construction 2-car garages are larger than 450, I can tell you, 450 square feet. I built one. I mean, it's big.
Were the garage doors historic?
No. I don't know if you can see, but just as I've got them drawn, they are just flat panel wood doors. There's no detail to them, which I think is unusual because the garage is quite quaint. It's got a lot of design details. George, you were talking about that eave that goes down and had a little storage area, and it has a little eave condition like that. You can see the stone and the brick. Somebody put a lot of care into this house, yet we've got these doors that have absolutely no appeal.
It's very quaint. It's a very quaint garage.
It is.
Could you
Please come up.
speak up here and sign in? Thank you.
Homeowner.
I don't have any documentation, but looking at the floor itself in the garage, there is a retention indent in the middle of both of those, so they were probably double swing doors, just based on what I can see with the indents that are in the floor, so a pin would drop in to hold 2 doors for both sides.
So that we have it on record, are you Jim Briscoe?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Do I need to sign in?
Yes.
Please.
Yeah. So one of the findings for the recommended continuance is that the overhead door and finish have not been fully described. Do we have that information if you're going for an approval, Mary Jo?
Is it in here?
Are the dimensions on the picture?
It's actually in the packet. Sorry. The back page of the pictures, we have one shown, an example of a proposed door we'd like to go with in the double. It's the very back page of that.
So I think we don't typically just take a picture as evidence. It needs to have the dimensions on it, a cut sheet.
Right, condition would be...
Yeah, the condition is...
I could provide that to staff, certainly.
For final approval.
Okay.
Certainly. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or a second to that motion?
Well, let me finish. Let me add that in there, because the specific findings would be that there is insufficient maneuverability for the 2 doors, that is in regards to the request for the 1 door, and that the condition be applied to item 2, that the exact doors and door designs be submitted to staff for approval.
Okay.
Certainly.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mary Jo Meacham, seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, been approved. Thank you.
HPCA 18-00144 at 622 Northwest 28th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Taylor Morris for certificate of appropriateness to number 2, remove front steps elective, and 5, install railing elective. Normally we take a 5-minute break if we go till 4 o'clock. We've got 2 cases left plus a special exception recommendation.
Let's take a 5-minute break. Okay, back in session. Katie, we're ready for you.
Okay. HPCA 18-00144, at 622 Northwest 28th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Taylor Morris for certificate of appropriateness to 2, remove front steps, elective, and 5, install railing, elective.
Is the applicant present? No? It seems with their request that maybe they're converting the duplex into a single family, and maybe that's why they're asking to remove stairs and add railing.
I don't think that it's allowed in the guidelines.
No, it doesn't. The guidelines don't.
But I would make a motion to continue in case the applicant wants to appear next time. Katie, did you think they were going to be here?
I had not heard anything from them. Angela, had you? No, we hadn't heard anything from them. So, yeah, at least one continuance is probably appropriate.
So which one?
Do October 5th? Or do November, I think?
I should do November because since they're not here, that wouldn't give them enough time. I make a motion to continue HPCA 18-00144 to the November 7th meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mary Jo Meacham, seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
HPCA 18-00145 at 419 Northwest 20th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Ben Sellers, RBS Land Development LLC by Jeremy Gardner of Gardner Architects for certificate of appropriateness to 1, enclosed porch, elective, 3, convert rear windows to larger windows and door, elective, 5, replace an enlarged window on west elevation, elective, and 6, install new window on west elevation, elective. You do have some additional drawings from the applicant at your seat.
Hello.
Applicant is present.
Sellers, 419 Northwest 20th Street. And on the items that requested additional information, that's what we submitted yesterday. So happy to answer any questions about those.
Katie, did the submittal answer your questions in regards to the windows?
I actually don't think I've seen this. I think Angela took this in an applicant. Yep.
They actually came in last night, and I have not looked at them at all. And so you're going to have to take a look at them for yourself, I'm afraid.
What it is the initial application, all the windows were just shown with no muntins or dividers, and the information that we submitted late yesterday shows the existing muntins and the proposed on the new windows label as A and B.
Katie, is it something that if it was, could it be approved with the condition and the final information submitted to staff, or do?
Yes.
Okay.
Ben, just curiosity, is the half bath on the first floor going to stay where it is?
No, that becomes kitchen. The new half bath goes into the proposed
on your
enclosure.
plan.
Gets shuffled over.
I thought that would happen.
Okay, staff has recommended approval on item 1 and 3. Any comments from commissioners on those items? Looks like they're both at the rear of the house.
Right. I agree if the conditions are met on that. Is the information you turned in regards to item 3 or item 5 and 6?
Both. We submit additional information on the doors, number 3, and also 5 and 6 windows. I believe. Yes, it was that last page of that additional document shows the window dividers on the proposed doors, that last page.
I think one of the questions that the representative still has in mind for the commission is whether or not it would be appropriate to enlarge that one existing opening. If the commission believes that it is appropriate to enlarge that existing opening, then the representative would propose to continue with the window that they're proposing at the far back side of the house. If the commission believes that it's inappropriate to enlarge that existing opening, then they would like to maintain the same size window at both locations, and so they will alter that elevation slightly so that both those windows remain the same size, because they are both going to be in the kitchen. Both windows are located within the rear 30% of the side of the house. New openings are allowed at those areas. The guidelines do not specifically address enlarging openings within the rear 30% of the house, but they do recommend maintaining existing opening sizes in general.
So the new opening, I'm sorry, which elevation is that, if we're looking at the plans that were just given to us?
West.
West elevation. So the west elevation in the new documents you have are labeled A. Those two windows are labeled A. So the one on the right, that window, that's an existing window that is probably about a foot shorter, is the right word, than we're proposing. So that window, the proposal is lowering the bottom of the window or enlarging the window downwards by about a foot or so, and the new window would be the same size.
So it's only longer by a foot?
Yes, we're lowering it, or the ask is to lower
the whole window's being lowered?
No, the top stays
the top
the same.
stays here, this
reducing
goes
the
down.
bottom. Correct.
Okay.
It looks like that window will match the windows on the second floor.
It will, and it's also the same size as the windows, the existing windows on the east elevation that are existing in the dining room and the new proposed window that's B. So they'll all be the same size.
I mean, it kind of seems like there's a bump out there. I don't know if that's stairs or what you have. Yeah, stair bump out. So they're really probably not that visible from the street.
That's correct. There's also a very large tree. You can't see back there at all. But you're right, that in that picture that's on the screen now, that's the window that would be low, that the bottom would be lowered about a foot or so.
So then that is item 5 and item 6, those two
Correct.
windows. Okay, that seems reasonable to me, and I think
On the new drawings, we're also looking at a comparison of a wood window versus an aluminum-clad simulated divided light window. Is that accurate? Or am I misunderstanding that? So I just want to make sure, 'cause I haven't seen this. I mean, we have, what is proposed is a simulated divided light window, correct?
Yes, but as we understood yesterday, because this window that we're discussing on the west elevation is in a historic portion of the house, the simulated divided light window that was aluminum clad would not be sufficient to the requirements. And so the information that you're looking at further explains that the window there and the new window that we place on the west elevation would actually be wood windows with the true divided lights. And the new window on the east elevation that's in a new addition to the house is aluminum clad wood.
Would you say again where the wood windows would be?
The two new windows
I know, I'm sorry, just the elevation.
The west elevation.
The west, okay. So one is completely new opening, and the other is an enlarged opening.
Correct.
Both of those would have the wood with the true divided light, and the ones that are in the addition, which is the enclosed porch, would be the aluminum clad.
Correct.
Okay?
Okay. And the drawings that you submitted today identify both of those windows?
That's correct.
Both types of windows on both elevations?
Yes.
Okay.
Katie, do you need further communication to make sure that all of that is clear to you all?
I think that's clear.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments from commissioners? No?
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 1800145, item 1, with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report. Item 2.
I don't think there's a 2.
I mean, item 3.
Okay.
Sorry. Item 3, to approve item 3 with the specific findings as noted by the staff with the condition, we didn't discuss that door. Your staff is saying with or without muntins, with the condition that you will have so you need a cut sheet on the back door?
I think that's included in the documentation they just gave us.
Okay. Including the condition that it be included, since it's just included today. And items 5 and 6, I want to make sure I say this the right way. Items 5 and 6, with the condition that, with the specific findings and the consideration that in conditions that the 2 windows on the west elevation, which would include enlarging an existing window and installing a new window, would be wood windows with true divided lights, and that the other additional windows that would go in the new enclosed porch would be aluminum clad, but same design. Is that clear, Katie?
Did you include all of these specific findings? I think 1, 2, 3, and 5.
1, 2,
3, and 5.
3 and 5. And
4, we have the detail from the applicant brought today.
Including the specific findings for item 5 and 6, number 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mary Jo Meacham, seconded by Klaus Ryman Phillip. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great.
Under other business, we have one item, BOA-14528 at 904 Northwest 37th Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action to provide a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment for a special exception to allow the use of multifamily residential development. You did have a letter from a resident, as well as an additional letter from a representative of the Crown Heights Neighborhood Association. Just to kind of give an overview of this, and if I believe the applicant is present. Okay. Sure. Within HP zoning, the allowed use is single-family residential. Multifamily is listed as a special exception, which means they have to apply for that special exception. It comes to HP Commission for a recommendation, and then on to Board of Adjustment for a final decision. So this property is an existing duplex, and it's legally non-conforming, so it can continue as a duplex, but they would like to expand to add an additional unit in the garage, and therefore they've applied for a special exception to allow multifamily use.
Is there alley access? Is there an alley behind your house?
I don't think there is.
Is this a recommendation that we're making?
Yes.
Yes. So when we have reviewed these before, the Historic Preservation Commission has tried to comment primarily upon the effect that the special exception would have on the historic character of the property and district.
Well, this kind of speaks to a case we had earlier where they were adding a new garage and there was alley access. I know there's not alley access here, but they wanted to just put windows where the original garage door was. If this is just a family dwelling proposed and not a garage, that runs into kind of the same thing, where it changes the character of the district. You're looking, instead of at a garage at the end of the drive, you're looking at another house. And that's not typically found in this district.
I think the residents' complaints about parking are genuine. I just don't feel very good about this at all myself.
Did you have any comments from the owner that you'd like to
Yes,
provide?
I do. Okay, so I was actually looking, the owner's my sister, my dad/sister. I was looking over what she submitted, and there are some changes to that. So currently, that would be a garage, but if you continue walking in and you have pictures showing, there's once upon a time there was dwelling space back there. We want to do the exact same thing, basically keep those two garages, make them work. There are no garage doors currently, and then make a wall. That way there's very small living space in the back, as it is currently, except it's all falling apart. We want to just add new walls and garage doors.
So it seems like a pretty deep garage, existing garage. I'm trying to see if we have it's 36 feet deep. So you're thinking about keeping the front half as a functioning garage, essentially, putting a wall in, or maybe there's already a wall. I'm not sure.
There isn't a wall currently. I don't know if there was a wall to divide it. But yes, that's exactly right.
So what you're proposing at the rear of the garage, that would be an apartment or a laundry space or what?
Sure, an apartment.
It would be for rent. They want to rent it, right?
That's your intention, is to rent an apartment?
That is not our intention. That would be for my sister to live in. She's in school and she wants to get away from the house. That way she can have some study space for herself.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I've seen quite a few, historic garages where you do have maybe garage in front and little, we just had one earlier with the servants' quarters or whatever they call it, So it doesn't seem like it's necessarily outside, traditional historic neighborhoods to have some kind of small studio apartment type arrangement in an existing garage.
I mean, this happens often, so I don't understand if that's going to be the case, then why is there a special exception required?
So, and I'm not in, some of that discussion happened with subdivision and zoning staff on the appropriate route to take. We generally, HP Commission generally does not review the interior of a structure. We look at the exterior of a garage and whether it had an existing garage apartment or not. That's not usually something that comes into, really is on our desk to evaluate. We have many, many existing legally non-conforming garage apartments, former servants' quarters, that sort of thing, and those are generally allowed to remain and allowed to be repaired and remodeled over time if they can document for plan review that they were legally non-conforming, as I understand it. My understanding with this one is that even though there are some remnants of kind of some bathroom or kitchen fixtures, the owner couldn't show that it was truly a legally non-conforming apartment, and that's why she was pursuing the special exception. Now, if it's not going to be, if it's study space, if it's a room and not a true apartment, not a true dwelling, and just a place for her to get out of the house and go and study, then a special exception wouldn't be necessary for that, I don't believe. They only consider it a dwelling if it is a self-sufficient, you can live there and never have to have access to the house apartment.
I wonder if that's where, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but did they have to apply for like a SPUD, basically, like simple planned unit development, or simplified planned unit development, to allow for that to be considered an apartment? Or, what is the, I guess to Board of Adjustment, what did they submit, for it to come here for us to review?
They applied for the special exception.
For the special exception, okay. That was, gotcha.
Why would they tell, right now, the drawings that y'all have submitted, whether you're going to change back and have the garage doors or not, we would have to continue it. Or we couldn't comment because what you've, I don't think, what you've turned in right now has a door and a window on the front.
Yes.
Right. And without additional drawings, if we were just using this information, then it does appear that it's going to be that the appearance is going to change. So
I'm wondering, would that be a separate, if you filed a building permit to do renovations in the garage and build it out, then it would come back to us to review the actual physical changes to the garage. It seems like this is just to get permission, to get the exemption, to have the apartment in the garage, correct?
Yeah, so the process for the special exception is that my understanding is the applicant was wanting to have another dwelling space on that site. The site currently is a non-conforming duplex with 2 dwellings, and this would be potentially adding a third. But if there were any other work that needed to be done to the exterior of the structure, that would still require a certificate of appropriateness, regardless of whether or not the special exception was granted. So any other things as far as removing the garage doors would still come back to the HP Commission.
Okay.
So staff has recommended denial.
I think that the one thing that we can't really consider is who's going to use it.
Right.
Because once your sister's gone, are they going to rent it? It's just going to sit there? It's going to be a guest room? So we can't really use the situation of who's going to use it. If it's going to be built as an apartment and have a full bath and a kitchen,
Okay.
then it's an apartment no matter who stays there.
Okay.
And the neighborhood's expressing concerns about driving, so if she wasn't, if it was rented, there'd be more cars and so forth.
But is that any different than a lot of other kind of garage apartments that people rent out, or I don't,
Well,
Seems like
since
that's
it
historical.
hasn't been, since it is a garage and it hasn't, we can do whatever.
But if it does have plumbing,
I would
you know,
recommend
and
against it.
fixtures, you could argue that it was an apartment at one point, possibly.
Because we're actually adding, though, another non-conforming use, aren't we?
I see a few people in the audience. Would you like to speak, any of you, on this case? Are you here? Okay. If you'll come up and sign in, please.
Hello, I'm Diane Glenn, and I just met my new neighbor's daughter today. I don't know any of them. And when I got the notice in the mail about what they wanted to do, I read it that they were going to tear the whole garage down and make an apartment there. And it sounds like that's not the case, but my concern is that it is another rent unit, and then when her sister goes away, then there's another person, another occupant there. And the parking and all that stuff is my concern. And I know HP is very particular about things. When I wanted storm windows, I had to get HP to approve the color of my storm windows. When I wanted to repair something on the side of my driveway, HP needed to see elevations and exactly what I was going to do. And so I'm incredulous that this would get this far to put another unit on that property.
And it could get worse if Airbnb ordinance goes through. We could have different people back there every night.
Well, yeah.
Are you aware of that?
And, wait, say that again?
The Airbnb, well, it's shared house, what is that called?
Oh, that, yeah. And
I'll just know it as Airbnb.
I don't think we like that in our neighborhood. I don't remember. And the parking, is already bad. And also, there's a precedent. Does that mean any of us can put a rent unit in our garage? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'm not comfortable recommending the special exception.
Neither am I.
If the applicant wants to come back with a plan to rebuild the garage and, just like any other new construction, then we can look at it then. We're not concerned with the use of it. It's what the exterior looks like.
I have one more comment. So even though that was existing, it appears from, I don't know how many years ago, we can't go back to doing that. Is that it?
I'm sorry, rephrase your question. Even though this is existing?
Okay, so I don't know when that was built.
Right.
That way. It's super old from what I can see from like plumbing and stuff. So we can't, so we have to tear that down?
No.
Or, well, I guess I know you guys don't really care for the inside. However, we're trying to make it a garage in the front. And do you guys...
You would just come back to us with a proposal for what you want to do, whether you want to tear it down and build new or rehab this structure.
So the decision on what can go on the interior of the garage is really through development services, which is a different department. When someone can show that they have an existing legally non-conforming garage apartment, then development services will allow them to remodel that apartment, to get building permits so that they can redo the bathroom, redo the kitchen, make updates to that structure. But if development service doesn't assess that as being legally non-conforming, if they say, well, we don't know when this was put in, we have no evidence that this ever actually was an apartment, then they may say, your zoning does not allow this dwelling unit, so no, you can't make improvements to the dwelling unit. Now, as I said, if it's not a true dwelling unit, if it's just interior space, people build garages with little kind of workshop spaces or a little half bath in the garage all the time, and that's not a dwelling unit, and that you can do with your current zoning.
Right, it could be a laundry room. It could be, they're not preventing you from...
So you could certainly put up an interior wall and make some space in the garage that someone could use as a workspace, as a study area. It just couldn't be fully outfitted as an apartment with a kitchen, with a stove, with a full bathroom, that sort of thing, as I understand it. And like I said, we are not the final say on reviewing the interior remodel stuff, but my understanding is that's why you all were instructed to go for a special exception.
Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if it's and maybe Lori can, I don't know if you can flesh this out, but almost like a legal, maybe you're not able to rent it, but you could essentially outfit it, if it was like your sister's going to live there, or if you had some family living there, you could even have, I don't know, maybe you could have a kitchenette or something. But I wonder if it's the difference between being able to rent it for profit and just having it as...
No, it's whether or not it's a standalone, self-sufficient dwelling unit with equipment for cooking and bathing and all of that. So there is a kitchen and a bathroom and a sleeping quarters. So that is what is the trigger threshold between just being a workshop kind of space within a garage and being a standalone dwelling.
So just for clarity for the applicant, if they wanted to, fix it up, let's say they're denied the special exemption, they could put a bathroom in, they could have a little space, they just couldn't have, say, a kitchen. So if someone could, stay there, but they wouldn't be full full service kind of apartment.
It wouldn't be a self-sufficient dwelling unit at that point.
Okay.
Okay. Other
Well, I have a
comments?
question. I'm looking at this and it says, did they actually make a application to the Board of Adjustment?
Yeah, so that before it goes to the board, it has to come here.
So I'm looking at this and it's saying, so have they been denied a building permit? Because you can't apply?
No, I don't know.
Or is this just a pre-thing? I guess I just don't really understand.
I think sometimes when properties are in HP, because they would have to go to HP first before they could apply for the permit, they don't make them get the denied permit.
I see.
I believe.
I think
because it adds so much time to the process when they know they're going to get denied by HP. And, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a recommendation? Unless there are more comments?
Go ahead.
I guess ultimately, I'm not sure if I agree. I mean, I feel like historically, I have seen a lot of these kind of self-sufficient little apartments, you know, and I don't really buy that it's going to be a huge traffic issue, you know, and I think on the Airbnb, it's kind of a whole separate issue, you know, that's going to apply to everyone. So I guess it seems to me still, I wonder if, you know, we haven't really established what the historical condition was. You know, I mean, for all we know, it might have full gas and electric, and, you know, there's a full-blown apartment, and it had the garage. You know, we're not 100% certain of that. I wonder if it makes sense to continue it, to allow the applicant to really document the existing condition or the historical condition. I don't know if that is reasonable or...
We don't typically continue a recommendation because we're just one stop on the way. And we do have in the recommendation that the continued use of historic garage apartments within the historic district is appropriate, presents an example for ongoing development of similar configuration of dwellings where appropriate. So I think the applicant has other avenues to approval if they could document that it was a previously existing apartment, or if they go another route with just making it some usable space and not a true dwelling unit. But I think we have to comment upon what we've been given, which is conversion of the entire structure into a dwelling.
That's the drawing that's
right.
And reconstruction of nonconformities is a kind of a separate process through the Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
Okay. Recommendation?
I would make a recommendation for BOA 14528. These are the hardest things to say. The Commission recommend denial to the Board of Adjustment for the special exception request and forward the following comments, including 1, 2, and 3 that are included in the staff recommendation.
Second?
Second.
I'm asking for a second.
Second.
Okay. It's been recommended for denial by Mary Jo Meacham, seconded by George Massey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? To the applicant, are you Ms. Lopez? Okay. So we've recommended denial to Board of Adjustment, but I think kind of some of the conversation here is if your sister does intend to make it another dwelling, the burden of proof is going to be on her to show that it is a dwelling now, a freestanding dwelling. So just so you know that. Okay. Thank you.
So we have 2 other items under other business. We have resolutions recognizing Heather Clemmer and Greg Eddington for their service on the Historic Preservation Commission. And I will, since we have almost no audience, I will let you all read those, and I will pass them around. If you can each sign and go that way and that way.
Okay.
But we do need a motion and a second and a vote to...
for each one?
For each one.
Okay. Do we have a motion on the resolution regarding Heather Clemmer? Recognizing Heather Clemmer?
I'll move adoption of the resolution recognizing Heather Clemmer.
Much better.
Okay, and do we have a second? George?
Second.
Okay, recommended by Suzanne Broadbent. Resolution is by Suzanne Broadbent, seconded by George Massey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and do we have a resolution recognizing Greg Eddington for his service? A motion?
I move to adopt the resolution recognizing Greg Eddington for his service on the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay, we have a motion by Mary Jo Meacham. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by George Massey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Communications and reports.
Lots and lots and lots and lots of administrative approvals. Just one withdrawal that actually has Suzanne's address on it because some of the proposed work was a sidewalk in front of her house. That was work that was initially proposed by City of Oklahoma City Public Works, and they scaled back the project to qualify as just ordinary maintenance and repair, so it was withdrawn. At City Council on Tuesday, the Freedom Center was designated a historic landmark by City Council, so that is complete. Yay. We should have brought treats, but it's done. At City Council on Tuesday, also of last week, the home sharing ordinance was heard. This was the public hearing. It was introduced previously. This was the public hearing. And it was scheduled for a final hearing on September 25th. There were some comments from historic preservation neighborhoods asking for some revisions to the ordinance, so those will likely be addressed at that September 25th hearing. And then the Board of Adjustment approved the special exception to allow multifamily residential development at 620 Northwest 21st Street, the former Sunbeam Children's Home that the Commission had recommended approval for.
Okay. Nothing from Planning Commission?
Nope.
Ad hoc committee? Municipal Counselor? No. Next meeting date is October 3rd, 2018 at 2 p.m. New applications for this meeting were received September 4th, and new information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, September 11th. Next regularly scheduled workshop for the HP Commission is Wednesday, September 12th at 11:30 a.m. Any items from commissioners? Citizens to be heard? We shall adjourn.
On the